What's going on, folks? Your boy again, Dr. Sean Thomas, back in the building with the Be More Today show. We are back. We are back. We are back in the building for season number 5, folks. Happy New Year. We are here. Episode 138 is going to be a great one. And I got to remind you, Be More Today is a movement. We've been here all last season going through things, and we're starting off this year on the right note with our Steps to Greatness Challenge. I got people out there putting in their steps to greatness for 40 days. They're going out there getting their steps in every single day. And that challenge will continue for the rest of the season. And we'll be doing more of those for the rest of this year. So you will catch our next one for sure. But no, for all more things that are Be More Today related, BeMoreToday.com has all your swag store, our more merch, the podcast information, anything you want to be a part of to keep moving on the move. So follow us, BeMoreToday.com, or email me at info@BeMoreToday.com for all those things. On social media, your boy, Dr. Sean Thomas, at Be More Today Show or Be More Today PT. And just so you know, our show has grown. We're in 82 countries now, over 56,000 downloads. Again, thanks to your love and support for pushing this show forward. It does not go unnoticed. Our quote for today is simple as always. We cannot walk alone. And as we walk, we must make the pledge that we will always march ahead. We cannot turn back, by Martin Luther King, Dr. Martin Luther King. As we celebrate his birth and his legacy this month, it's amazing to see how many people have a hard time walking. Just talking about the actual physical aspect of walking. Yes, it's good for us to walk in our real lives and to walk for the movement of certain things, but walking can be difficult for many people. As a PT, you already know, I know walking is one thing that people come to me saying, hey, help me to walk better, help me to do this thing a little easier, with less discomfort, with more functionality. And I've learned in my years that one of the best things that can improve your walking are insoles. Now, people don't really wear insoles as much as they should, but everyone can benefit from insoles. I know when I was in college, I had a lot of foot pain, never even knowing that insoles could have saved me a lot of pain when I was running track and field for so many years. But I'm grateful that I know what I know now. And my guest on the show today is the embodiment of what insoles can do to make you feel great. Her name is Libie Motchan, and she's the founder of Fulton Insoles. Now, Fulton is a modern brand of art support that is supportive, sustainable, and a comfortable insole made from innovative materials like vegan cactus leather and cork. They seek to empower consumers to live healthier lives because wellness starts from the ground up. And she's my guest on the show today. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, pets included, please welcome to the stage my first guest for 2024, Libie. Libie, what is going on?
Thank you so much for that great introduction, Sean. Yeah, you really encapsulated Fulton really well. I'm so happy to be here. So honored to be the first guest. That's very cool. Yeah, good to chat.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on. And as a PT, I'm always pushing for people to wear insoles because they are good for you. But I have a lot of runners that we have as part of my running club, Spartan Center Running Club, one of the I think one of the best run clubs in the NYC area. And our group is kind of eclectic in the sense that it's an older group than most. Um, so when we talk about foot pain and foot issues, a lot of people are always talking to us about, what shoes they can be wearing and what insoles to wear with those shoes. So before we get into that, I was just curious, as I always am, for people to get into this kind of work. What happened or what did you do to start working with people who need insoles in the first place?
Yeah, I mean, what you were mentioning earlier about your experience of having foot pain and not really realizing that insoles could be helpful, I kind of had a similar experience. It very much resonated to me. I think a lot of people don't realize the importance of arch support and how unsupportive the shoes that we typically wear are, and how that can impact our entire bodies. So I had this experience several years ago of having back pain, not really realizing what the cause was. I was doing things like taking painkillers, I was foam rolling, getting massages, like very much treating the symptoms and not the cause. And then I eventually went to a chiropractor, and the chiropractor suggested insoles. And I'd never really thought about insoles as a treatment for my back pain because you don't necessarily think about your feet when you're treating your back. But the chiropractor explained most shoes don't have proper support, and that causes misalignment and pain. And that affects not just your feet, but also your knees, your hips, and your back and that, proper alignment, proper wellness starts from the ground up. And then he was sort of suggesting that I buy these custom orthotics, and they were $500. And I just didn't feel like my achy back warranted a $500 solution. Like that felt more like on the verge of like a medical device or something. I was just like, I have a regular person's achy back. So I went to the drugstore and I found myself looking at this wall of super medical geriatric brands. I won't name any names, but I'm sure many of you, the listeners, are familiar with some of the brands that you could see at like the wall of a CVS, covered in words like bunions, plantar fasciitis, heel spurs, like also super confusing, not really what I was looking to buy. And
Right.
eventually also realizing that these products that are made of gels and foams, which are squishy, don't really provide proper arch support. So they didn't really like fix the problem that I needed to be fixed. They were brands that were confusing and also really unsustainable. Like all these gels and foams will sit in landfills for thousands of years. So that was just not really a product I wanted to buy. And after talking to friends and looking out for like trying to get advice, I realized that a lot of people had foot pain, a lot of people had back pain, knee pain, but many people were not really using insoles. They didn't realize that insoles could be a good solution for their back pain, or they tried custom orthotics and they were very expensive, or they tried the over-the-counter ones and they cost they like didn't really do much. So it kind of felt like there was no good solution, and there was a problem that a lot of people, I think it's over 70% of people experience foot pain, and 60% experience back pain. So it's like really common, and the unsupportive shoes that we're wearing are just not really helping that. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, that was sort of realizing this opportunity to help people alleviate pain, alleviate my own pain. I was just like, this is an interesting industry that needs to be disrupted.
Yeah. So what's your background, Libby? How did you get into this? I know you said you benefited from insoles, but what's your background in terms of either the science or the mechanics behind being able to talk about what insoles and how they can be helpful to somebody?
Yeah, honestly, I mean, I came to the industry not from the footwear, not from the biomechanics space. I think that in some ways is a positive because when developing the actual Fulton insoles, I didn't feel like we had to be limited to the traditional materials and processes that insoles are made of. I was like, we are not going to be making an insole out of plastic gels or foams. Like, let's think differently here. Yeah, I actually had this idea. I was working in a corporate job, which is why I was sitting for many hours of the day and got this back pain. Um, and then went to business school. And when I went to business school, like I was just very much sort of adamant on the opportunity to start a business. And I actually met my co-founder at business school, and he had foot pain, and we sort of like the idea resonated, and we then had access to this incredible network of podiatrists, chiropractors, biomechanical engineers, people in the footwear industry, people in the orthotic industry. We kind of just brought all of these people together to help us build the product.
Awesome. Yeah, it's funny. I've seen so many people, especially on the show, who might not have had any background in a particular area, but they had a knack for it and they knew that there was a need. And because there was a need and they saw the need and they could experience that need, they're able to find a way to fill that niche. And it sounds like that's like what you're doing right now with Fulton Insoles. And just reading the website and seeing what you've been doing, I'm curious what makes Fulton Insoles different from other insole brands. You've had other brands on the show before, and we talked about the benefits of them and even some of the ones that are online. What makes Fulton Insoles different?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few things, but I think the main thing is really the materials that we use. So as I mentioned, like we were not people from the biomechanics space. We're not people from the insole category. And when originally developing the Fulton insole, me and my business partner thought about what are our favorite shoes and like what are our favorite shoes? What do they all have in common? Why are they so comfortable? Why are they so supportive? And we realized that the common thread between all of them is that they are made of cork. So brands like Birkenstocks, Allen Edmonds, Corkies, like some of our favorite shoe brands that are often higher end, use cork.
Mm.
And cork is an amazing material for a lot of different reasons. It's first of all the bark of a tree, so it's incredibly sustainable. It's also really shock absorbing, so walking on it helps protect your joints from impact. And I think what the coolest thing is that like granulated cork, ground up cork will mold to the shape of your foot over time to give you in our case, like a customized arch support. And what's cool about that is that it doesn't just take into account your arch type or your foot type in a moment in time, like the way that is traditionally works when you go to get your foot molded for a custom insole.
Right.
Instead, it really takes into account the way that you walk and the shoes that you're walking in because people have different gait patterns. They walk differently depending on the shoes that they're walking in. And yeah, it'll customize to your arch. So that's a really cool benefit. It also makes it a little bit less confusing. You don't need to know your arch type. They work for anyone with any arch type. And then the other materials that we use are all natural. There's a natural foam. There's a vegan leather that's made of cactus. And then on our athletic model, we have a organic cotton. So all of our materials are biodegradable, totally natural, and yeah, good for the planet and good for our bodies.
I love it. Yeah, saving the planet and saving the people at the same time. I love it. I love it. I,
Exactly.
I think one of the things you said that hits me hard as a PT is that, you know, a lot of people get caught up in what kind of foot they have, the overpronate or oversupinate, the high arch or low arch, neutral arch, you know. And it sounds like from your description, your insoles that you have for your company are vast in the sense that anybody can wear them. They adapt to your shoes fairly easily. And that's great as a consumer, right? And as a physical therapist, I can say, you know what? Just go try these insoles on and see what's going on, and they should help you, no matter have to go through like the whole get analysis of somebody, because that can be somewhat daunting to some people. But in talking about insoles for Fulton, it seems like it's almost seamless. And that's easy for me as a clinician to say, you know what, go try these on, because there's a lot of skepticism and a lot of um, irritation when people talk about trying to put out money, a lot of money for insoles. As you know, like you said, the moldings for those things can cost up to $400, $500, depending on what's going on. So finding an affordable one that is effective and saving the planet, I mean, that's a no-brainer. And I'm glad you guys are doing that. That's really exciting. That's really exciting.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. I mean, it definitely feels like we realized that there were so many people that were experiencing pain and were not wearing insoles. So there's got to be a reason for that.
Yeah.
Um, and it's unfortunate that oftentimes custom orthotics from your doctor like feel so cost prohibitive because many insurance plans don't cover it. It's also just often inconvenient and yeah, just feels like inaccessible to many consumers.
Yeah. Now I have a lot of, again, I have a lot of runners that we coach, me and my co-coach Ishmael Torres. We have a number of runners, and one of the things that we talk about is the ability to have good footwear, but also your insoles and how that can vary with different conditions. You know, we're talking about running in the snow, or running in the rain, running in the mud, and you know, those kind of things. Have you seen anything in terms of your research with Fulton, that these insoles have any issues? You know, not that they're talking about helping the environment, which is a good thing, but sometimes materials like that can sometimes be detrimental or can be challenging when we talk about rain and wind and other things that can sometimes get in the way of the durability of the insole. So how durable are the insoles when we talk about these different conditions for people who are doing a little more active lifestyles, such as running and marathons and half marathons and such?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think anyone that is so active is generally like a super user of their shoes, of their insoles. So durability is really important. I'll say there's definitely a spectrum. I mean, I think we're definitely more durable than something that you get over the like over the counter at the drugstore, like it's made from gels and foams. Those often will only last like, I don't know, a month or 2 months. Um, but we're not like a hard, rigid plastic that will last till the end of time. You know, it is natural materials. We generally say they last about 500 miles or like the lifetime of a shoe. So really, it will depend on how often you're wearing them, and yeah, how far you go in them. But it's about 500 miles.
Yeah, and that's about right. I used to tell my patients, whatever shoe you're wearing, as you change your shoe, your insole should change also. So that's about
Yeah.
with the standard for most insoles. That's fantastic. That's great. That's great. And I know I'm a big supporter of insoles. Like I said before, you know, as someone who does overpronate, insoles are in all my shoes. I wear insoles in every single shoe that I wear. And like you guys talked about earlier, from the ground up is really what happens when you are wearing an insole for its full potential. So I'm happy you're doing this, and you know, as a business school person who is now delving into the healthcare world, I'm glad to see it because it helps us as clinicians to know that there are options out there for other people, not just to go up there and say yeah, go see your MD and get custom molded shoes, but you can go get Fulton insoles and make your life feel a lot better. So where can people find the insoles? How can they get in contact with you, or what website can they go to if they want to purchase and see some of the different various styles?
Yeah, walkfulton.com. Fulton, like Fulton Street in Brooklyn or Manhattan or wherever you live, Fulton, and it's walkfulton.com.
Awesome, awesome. And when we talk about the price for insoles, I know again we talked about the custom made ones can be very expensive. Um, I'm guessing these are a lot less expensive. So, just for the listeners to know, what price range are we looking at when we talk about the insoles that you're providing?
Yeah, they're $48, and I did want to offer a deal to the BMT listeners. So if you go to walkfulton.com/BMT, you'll get 15% off your order. You don't need a coupon, it'll automatically apply. So yeah, hopefully that'll make it a little bit more exciting. We also do offer a 90-day comfort guarantee, because we really want to give people like the opportunity to try them. They molds to your foot, so you want to experience them like at their most comfortable. So after about 10 hours, they'll mold to your foot, and we let people wear them as long as they need. You have 90 days and try them out, feel the difference that cork makes. But it's totally risk free if you need to return them.
That is amazing. BMT listeners, I hope you heard that. Get that discount while you can. That's amazing. I thank you for that. That's very nice of you. And I gotta say, I haven't heard of many um inexpensive self-molding insoles. I think you're on the verge of something big. Only because a lot of the apprehension when it comes to insoles is literally the price. Literally, patients say, you know what, first of all, it's having to go and get them fitted, right? And that can be a barrier by itself for patients or people who are trying to get insoles. And then secondly, is the price. And I think a lot of people who have been struggling with foot pain for such a long time would rather continue to struggle because they can't afford it. And they'll try different shoes or they'll stop their activity, right? They'll stop and say, I'm just gonna walk less. Um, and they'll try to change their surfaces, but it's not so much the surfaces, it's really what's happening in the shoe or in the sneaker. So you're providing a service I think that's going to be beneficial for years to come for others to have more options. And I'm glad that this is opening up as a sustainable format, especially talking about all the things that are happening in our environment. This is definitely the way to go. So I appreciate you so much. And now, Libby, you're the first person on the show for this year, and one of the things that we ask all of our listeners, and all of our guests, is to decide what they're going to be more in for the year. And this year, since it is 24, our theme is Be More in 24. So I know you said that you're going to be doing some big things for Fulton. Um, what are some things you have planned either for Fulton or for yourself to be more in 24?
Okay, well, I think I don't know if I interpreted the question the right way when I was thinking about the answer, but my original answer was in 2024 and in the 24 hours of the day, I am going to be sleeping more. Because in 2023, as a founder, I found myself always giving up on sleep. That was always like the first thing I would drop. But since January 1st, I've been making sure that I get at least 7.5 hours, 8 hours from lucky hours of sleep. And I've just been feeling so much better and so present and so much more able to accomplish more in the hours that I'm awake. Just definitely having more energy, being more active. And I think that has been one of my New Year's resolutions that has felt the most impactful so far. As far as Fulton, we do have some new products coming up. I don't want to say too much, but some new types of insoles that I think will be very exciting and will allow people to wear their insoles in different types of shoes. Um, yeah, and I think part of our vision for 2024 is just also to continue to extend the uh, breadth of awareness of the brand so more people know about us and we can continue to help alleviate as much pain as possible.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm all about the sleep. The sleep, I've mentioned that actually in my book a couple of times. Sleep is so important. And that's a good one to more in 24. Absolutely. And yeah, I'm curious as my last question for you about the production of the insole that you're doing. I've heard a number of people who are in the insole industry, and some have brick and mortars, right? They have warehouses, and some do them, in their houses or apartments. So, what's the structure right now for Fulton, and what's the future for Fulton when it comes to that?
Yeah, so all of our insoles are produced in Portugal. Portugal is actually where most of the world's cork is harvested and has a really good industry when it comes to footwear. And we found a great supplier who's helped us. All of our materials are sourced from Portugal, with the exception of the vegan cactus leather, which is sourced from Mexico, and then brought over to Portugal. I don't really see that changing. I think we are sort of going to continue the supply chain. It's been pretty great. We have our warehouse in Brooklyn, in Industry City, which is where we ship all of our insoles out from. Um, and yeah, I think that'll change too. I mean, that won't change too. We have an amazing partner there, and hopefully, we're just going to be expanding, just more insoles in Portugal, more insoles packed and shipped out of our warehouse in Brooklyn. But yeah, that's our supply chain.
That's incredible. That's incredible. I never thought about Portugal being known for that, but you know what? I learned something today, and I appreciate that from you. And yes, for all those who are in Brooklyn, urban industry city, recognize that Fulton Insoles is there doing its thing. So we appreciate the Brooklyn love. That's what we do in Brooklyn. We show love. It's Brooklyn way for sure. And Libby, I'm just really impressed by you. I think the sky's the limit when it comes to insoles because it's something that we can use for a lifetime, right? And if you find something that you really like, you stick with it. So I haven't tried your insoles yet, but I know that they're on the way. So when I do get a chance to try them, I'm gonna rock them out, and I'm looking forward to being a part of the Fulton family. So I really appreciate you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm so excited for you to try them. And thank you so much for hearing me out, letting me share some of the Fulton story. Yeah, and hopefully we can share, alleviate some of the pain of your listeners.
Yeah, absolutely. Any final thoughts you want to share with the listeners about the importance of wearing insoles, about Fulton, or anything you want to share as we close out?
Yeah, I mean, I think when it comes down to it, like it's just so important to be active. So whatever you can do to make yourself get out there, whether it is making your shoes more comfortable or getting all the layers that you need or listening to a really good podcast as you go on your walk. Hopefully we could do one of those for you today. And yeah, go on that walk if you're listening to this.
Awesome, awesome. Libby, thank you so much for being a guest on today's show. You made the first episode for this year, one for the books. I appreciate you, and I wish you and your team the best of luck this year.
Thank you. Thanks, Sean. Thanks, everyone.
No problem. And folks, listen to what she said. She said, go out there and get a walk in. It's imperative that you continue to stay active this year. A number of you already started to talk about your starts, your stops, your goals, your steps to greatness, your resolutions, right? And as we're now in January, for some of you, continue to go. And for some of you, you say, you know what? I've kind of fallen off the ladder. Well, if it's about a foot pain issue, go out there and check out Fulton Insoles. The website will be in the show notes for you guys to go out there, and you can use your BMT discount to save some money on those things, 50%. So we thank Libby for that. And for others who are just trying to find motivation to go out there, use this year, like we said, to be more in 24. MLK said it best. We cannot walk alone. And as we walk, we must take and make the pledge that we will always march ahead. We cannot turn back. We're not turning back to 23. 23 is in the books. Moving forward to 24, whatever goals you have, aspirations, dreams, things you want to do. I mean, Libby said she was in a whole different field of life and decided to find a new walk to follow her heart and follow her dream to do this thing with Fulton and Soul. So she's doing it, and so should you. So I challenge you to go out there and be more in 24. And as we continue this season 5 for this year, I hope that you will continue to join us as we bring on more guests on the show who inspire you too to be more in 24. As I always say, folks, have a good day, have a good night, have a great life, and continue to take your steps of greatness to be the best version of you. We'll see you next week. Peace.